Good morning. We had a devotional last night from Pastor Schaller, and it was on the word admonish. It's a Greek word, nu teteo, if I'm pronouncing right. So nu is mind, and then teteo is put, and the meaning is to put in the mind, and it is to put in someone else's mind, to admonish them. So it's usually translated admonish, sometimes warn, occasionally encourage, and maybe a good way of doing this is to give a few examples of it that were given last night. One of them was Eli, who didn't put it in his mind. His two sons were not living right before God. They were, and not only the problem was they were very influential, and as a result, many people were despising the offerings of God, turning away from God because of them. And God rebukes Eli, the father, because you didn't admonish them, you didn't put it in their mind. Though he did say it to them, he wasn't strong enough. He didn't really put it in their mind to change how they were doing things. So it really comes on us. So sometimes we were saying that you can be put in mind or admonished by just being in the company of believers. You see the lives of others, you see the testimony of how they're living, and it's enough for us. It's enough to put us in a right mind. And it's we have these kind of different phases. We can be in a different mode where it's easy for people to put it into our minds. People tell us where we are misaligned, and then we line up. We are just saying we're kind of thankful for it, but other times we're just not able to hear it. We've got into a mode of, I know everything. What do you know? And or who are you to tell me? So we see the example of David, two occasions where he is able to. But one is he wants to build a temple, and the prophet comes to him, and he's all excited to build a temple. He tells, I think is it Nathan the prophet or God, and he says, "Yeah, go for it, go for it." But then the next day, he comes back and says, "David, the Lord said you shouldn't do the temple," and he accepted it, even though it was a huge desire in his heart. He accepted it, and he was able to take that into his mind, and he didn't do it. Another time was when he was living in sin with Bathsheba, and the prophet came to him and kind of showed him very creatively his wrong, and he accepted it, and he repented and really gave deep repentance and a change in his life, and he turned around. And we read Psalm 51. But then we read a third one in David's life, where it is this time he has got proud, and really that's probably the root of it all. But he's got proud. The army has grown to over 1,000,000, and he wants to count the army, to kind of, which is fine to count your army, so you can kind of assess your resources and know how to utilize them good. But David's motive in counting them was to, puff up his own pride, how big his army was, how great a king he was, how well organized he was. And when he asked his general Job to do it, Job told him, "No, don't do it. Don't. May the Lord multiply you and more, but don't do this." But he insisted, and really insisted. And the result of it was God brought a lot of judgment on David because of that pride and his upper line. But the point is that here's a third time in David's life, and this third time he's not able to take admonition. He's not able to let somebody put something in his mind that is necessary. In each of the three cases, it was necessary. And he suffered for it, and the people around him suffered for it. So, it's good for us to keep that humility, and then Pastor Schaller commented on these, saying that humility is like a key aspect of leadership. Peter says, be humble yourselves. And it's a real characteristic, because if pride gets in, then we don't take admonition anymore, and we can be. But humility is just a great trait and a great characteristic of somebody. And what we can do is it. So there we go. I think I said as much as I can on that. So we can admonish one another. Paul says you're able to admonish one another, put other people in mind if we see one another in that. Not going around correcting everybody, but lovingly, the faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. Okay, have a good day. God bless.